Welcome back to another episode of Cork'd Up. I'm Jessica Kleinschmidt.
And I'm Rachel Luba.
I
Cheers.
know we always do the intros because we're starting with Paige. We have a guest, and her name's Paige Halstead, and she's here. Paige, so much. Thank you so much for joining us. We really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Of course. So we have so much to unpack because I feel like your intro, there's so much that you do. You're not just a softball player. You're also one of Rachel's clients, which is really, really cool. So let's start with everything that you're doing at this very moment, whether it's softball training. I know you're working out with your brother a lot. So tell me everything that you're up to at this exact time.
Okay, yeah. So I actually just signed to play professional softball with the organization. It's called Athletes Unlimited, based out of Chicago. So originally I wanted to go into occupational therapy right after college, and then my path kind of changed and I kind of dedicated my time to softball. So I want to play pro for at least one season, and then see how that goes. And I've been living out in Arizona, but I've been back and forth from Arizona and Rancho Cucamonga, where I'm from. And so right now I'm just doing lessons, training for season, and then I have like my own online catching program that I started up. So that's super fun to kind of get to know different athletes around the world and just work with them. But yeah, that's pretty much what I'm doing right now at this moment. So.
It's amazing. And so there was a viral clip that kind of went around. I cover the Giants and the A's quite a bit, and your brother plays for the Giants organization. You were helping him work out. And it was such a badass moment, not just to see the fact that we were all on hiatus and we're figuring out ways for these guys to work out, and you were helping him. And so what was the reaction that you got when you saw that DJ had you as kind of a resource to work out with?
Yeah, no. I think like Ryan and I were talking about that video. Like that wasn't even, we didn't post that and like think that it would even go viral. It was just kind of like an everyday thing for us, just like kind of playing catch in the cul-de-sac, just like, just regular brother and sister things. But yeah, I mean, I think my reaction was just kind of like shocked. Definitely didn't really think that would ever happen to us. But I mean, super grateful and thankful for all of that's happened. But yeah, just kind of shocked, honestly.
So that's just like a casual thing that you two do.
Yeah, literally, it was like, I think that video was from a while ago too. It was like Christmas break or something, and we were both back in town, and he needed to play catch, and I was just like, all right, I'll catch you. And then my dad was recording it just to see like his mechanics and stuff. Like we didn't even ask him to like do that. That's the thing. And then randomly, I just posted it on TikTok, like that little app thing, and it just kind of blew up from there. So that was kind of the crazy part, I think.
And so I'm new to the softball, I guess, professional world, and I'm curious what do we need to know? Like I'm kind of naive to it. So I just cover baseball for a living, even I'm a former player. I'm curious, what is a professional softball player? What's like the format of that these days?
Yeah, so I'm super new to it as well, but this league that I just signed with, it's different. It's like formatted differently than any other pro softball league that's out there. So for our league, it's based on like a fantasy league, basically. So yeah, it's like 56 athletes in a pool, and then every single week the team will change. So you don't necessarily have coaches; you just have different players that will pick the team every single week, and so which means that every single week the team changes as well. So it's definitely a very different format, and I'm just excited to see how it goes. So.
Yeah, I love watching you work out. Like it gives me so much like inspiration to think about working out. So that's good. But and I know obviously you and Rachel have the UCLA connection, but Rachel, how did you come across wanting to have Paige as one of your clients?
So Paige and her brother actually reached out to me and Morgan during like the quarantine period. They were just curious about the marketing stuff and branding because they really were interested in growing their brand and they saw the value in that. So we actually hopped on a call with them, as well as Trevor was on the call. And we just talked to them about what they were interested in. They both have a really unique kind of dynamic with the sibling thing. And then also any Bruin I'm a fan of. So I was like, yeah, love this girl. So we talked to them for a bit, and then I wanted to have a follow-up call with Paige just because I was really interested in kind of what she was doing. And obviously I don't, represent softball players really, but there was something, she's a Bruin who I think she has a really unique kind of brand that she can build, and I wanted to kind of help her with that. So yeah, we started talking and kind of went from there. But yeah, Paige and I are kind of learning about some of this softball world stuff as we go together. So it's been fun.
Yeah, it's really cool. And now Paige, now I'm just curious because my agent is not a man, or my agent is a man. He's not a woman. So I'm curious, like, to know that you have a badass woman like this who wants to represent you. What was that moment like?
That's what I like every single time I talk to Rachel. It's like, I am so grateful that I have like just a woman role model to kind of look up to, especially because she was in the sports world and she went to UCLA. So it's like, it's just like, even like, it's just crazy to me to like have somebody like Rachel to look up to and to kind of guide me in my journey of softball and things like that. But I mean, it's awesome to have somebody like Rachel represent me.
Yeah, no, and she's, I mean, I learned so much from her. And when you are seeking out or sorting out to get an agent, what are like the main things you want to look for in somebody who wants to represent you?
That's the thing. It was so new to me. Like, I've never had an agent before. I didn't even think that I would need one or like want one, just because I never saw myself pursuing professional softball. And obviously past change. And I'm really excited that I'm kind of sticking with it. But I think for me, I just look for a genuine person. Like, I know that Rachel's intentions are great and
Mhm.
she's all for me. So I mean, she's just an all around great person, and I knew that from the beginning when I first talked to her. So that's like my main thing that I kind of look for, I think. So
No, I'm right there with you. I love that. It's so true. Or, like, I've never met anybody who was both equally had such a good heart and also being like a badass. And that's literally Rachel. So it's really, really cool. And now you are a baseball fan, right? So you're watching like everything that's happening this season. How are you observing a 60 game season when you're used to 162 games? Obviously you're a former collegiate player, so perhaps the games at 60 isn't too crazy, but overall when you're watching this season, what's weird about it beyond just the fact that it's 60 games, the DH, but what's weird about it to you?
for me, a shorter season, it's just like, just talking to like some baseball players, especially my brother, it like takes them a while to get into the groove of things. So like like shortening the season, I feel like they could just be potentially getting in the groove and then season's going to end. So it's just like, it's not organic. It's kind of like forced to me.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, just watching some of the games that I've seen, it's a different feel.
Yeah.
And I mean, we obviously know why, but it's just like, it's just kind of tough right now. But I mean, I think they're having fun with it to the best that they can. So,
Yeah. And how long does it take you to get hot in a season?
oh man, I would say at least like just getting used to things, at least like 15, 20 games, you know.
Right.
So
It's hard to think about when these guys only have a certain, even like in collegiate, it's no different, right? I mean, like if you go to a place like UCLA, like cool, like, oh, we're chill, like we have postseason, we've got playoffs, like we good fam. But that's not always the case, right? So it's kind of cool from that aspect. Now, Rachel, I'm curious with you. Now, do you when you and Paige talk about the season, like, or anything like that, what are some of y'all's, like, I don't know, hangout meetings, or when you guys catch up and talk about what's going on?
Yeah, so a lot of it is, I mean, one, her getting ready just for her season that's coming up. And then we also just signed Paige with Mizuno, which is cool. So she'll be repping Mizuno.
I never used anything but Mizuno, and people used to make fun of me because they were like, well, of course all the guys were like Rawlings. I'm like, no, I like my Mizuno, and I got so much shit for it. But like, what are they doing? They're watching me on TV from their couch. They don't know shit. So anyways, go on.
Yeah, exactly. So go Mizuno. So we talk about that kind of stuff, and then just other kind of initiatives and things that, working on growing her brand right now and what she wants to be known for. And so, a lot of that, one that we actually connected on more of a personal level was eating disorders for female athletes. It's something that both Paige and I dealt with ourselves, and it's something that's really prevalent in sports for women in general. So, we talk about kind of ways that we're going to help her get her message out there, when it comes to body positivity, especially for female athletes. So that's a lot of it. And then just different content ideas and ways that we can get her involved. We've done a lot with Momentum, which I want to talk about her at-bats that she did, the live at-bats during quarantine. By the way, Paige, I don't know if you know, I feel like I've told you this before, but you're like one of our most viewed videos when we put like for our live at-bats. Everybody loves you. So
yes, queen.
Yeah. Okay, so first of all, tell everybody I'm going to tell you that Paige gets really nervous about going up there and showing guys up, because every time I'll tell her, I'm like, okay, Paige, you're going to face, Frankie Montes. And she's like, and, Frankie gets all nervous. He's like, I don't want to face her. Like, she's a girl, if my wife sees
that from like in the nicest place.
Yeah. But he's like, if my wife sees me, give up a bomb to this girl, I lose my manhood. Like, I don't want to face her.
Sucks for you, Frankie. Like, what do you want?
Like when he saw her and we were like, you're going to face her. And he was like, no, like he thought it was a joke. And then he's like, not even paying attention. She goes up to face Bauer and she just like hits a line drive off of Bauer. And he hears like the pop of the bat and he turns and looks and he was like, hold on, wait, what? Like, I need to pay attention to this. Like, holy shit, she made contact. And he was shocked. And then he got nervous. He's like, well, I don't want to face her now. But she gets nervous too, though. She feels bad. She doesn't want to show them up. But then she gets in the box and she's like the best shit talker. And I think it's fantastic. So Paige, tell us, like, I'm guessing it has to do with, growing up and training with your brother and, being around guys, but, what's it like facing men?
Yeah, obviously it was like so much fun to even be able to face them. And I think it's not like I'm scared to like show them up. I'm just like, I don't want to like step on any toes and like be, I don't know, I don't even know how to explain it, but like, it's just, to me, like facing them, I don't know, it's just like, it's so organic and it's so natural that like, I just love competition. And so being able to kind of like be in that competition atmosphere, especially with like baseball and softball, it's just so much fun. I think there needs to be a lot more of that, a lot more content like that as well. But I think growing up, facing Ryan all the time and catching him, it's just like, that's how I survived. Like I have 2 older brothers, like you realize too, because you have 3 older brothers, right? So that's how you survive. Like growing up, you have to talk trash. Like you have to, if you don't, you can get stepped all over. So I think that's how I kind of lived my life, and that's how I became the athlete that I was. So yeah, it was fun though, a lot of fun.
I want to know the dynamic between you and Frankie Montes, and not just because I cover him, but also I love the guy and he's so sweet. So I'm curious, like, Rachel kind of told me some stuff, but what was it like to go up against Montes, who, by the way, is like killing it right now and can hit 3 digits. So what was that like going up against it? No offense to Bauer, that's fine. But like, what was it like going up against Montes?
I think I don't know, because honestly, I didn't know much about him. Like, I didn't even know how hard he was going to throw.
Sometimes you need to be naive about it. You gotta be like, I don't know. Like, so I get it. Yeah, it's perfect.
Yeah, and so I was going up there.
You told me the same thing. You were like, I've never seen him. Like, I don't know if I want to. Like, she's seen Bauer, but
Yeah.
Montas, she's like,
Yeah, no, I was waiting to hit off of him, and then one of the hitters was there, and he was like, dude, you know that he throws like 100, right? And I was like, what? Like, I had no idea. So like, I think knowing that going up there, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm just gonna swing as hard as I can. But I mean, he was super nice about it. He likes to talk trash too, so that was kind of fun. But yeah, I mean, he like the first pitch that he threw, I like blinked and it was gone. So it's just such a different look out of the hand. I mean, obviously because softball is underhand and baseball is over, but I mean, it was a lot of fun. He throws gas, but I I just try to close my eyes and swing as hard as I can.
That's all you can do, babe. And it's funny though, because Montes not only threw to you, and he would probably calculate that as practice, but he also threw to like a high school catcher in the off season, throwing 100 miles an hour. And this poor catcher was like, he needed to ice his hand each time. That's all that was available. So it's really cool that he was utilizing with that. I want to talk more about your brand. And I'm weird about that term only because I have my own, Rachel has her own. So you mentioned eating disorders, just such a beautiful thing that you're willing to talk to young people about or just people about. So that alone, you want that part of your brand, but why is it so important for you to spread that message about eating disorders or anything else that's personally touched you to people that are paying attention to you?
Yeah, I think honestly, I think things happen for a reason, and I never thought that I would kind of have as much of a following as I do. And starting the online catching program and kind of having younger athletes like look up to me as an athletic role model. Um, I feel like I don't want to portray myself as being this perfect human being, and I really think that my brand, the way that I want to go about it, is just being a genuine person and wanting to help people to see them succeed. And it's not for me, it's more for them. And I don't want to portray myself like as somebody that has no problems or that hasn't gone through anything. And so that's why I'm so open about, like, finally now I'm open about talking about my eating disorder that I went through in college. And that's just one big thing that I went through that I want to kind of share and let people know that it's normal and it's not something to feel bad about. It's just something that's so it's always been weighing on my heart to kind of share, and I'm just waiting for the right moment to kind of just share it to the public, I guess.
well, it's one of those things too that like we were talking about this, that you don't find a lot of people, I think, that have been through it, that it's one of those things that's so taboo and people don't like to talk about it. And even people who have them, are usually a lot of times in denial about it and they don't want to admit it. And so nobody talks about it. And when Paige and I both realized, like, I've always been someone who, even when I had it, I told people, I was like, look, I have it. It's awful. My life sucks. It was the worst, period of my life. I was miserable, but I couldn't get out of it. And so, and I always wanted to share that with people. I wanted people to know, like, to have that skinny body, like, you are miserable though. Like, there's nothing satisfying about life. And then, us athletes, that we work so hard to get, these incredible bodies that can do incredible things. And then we just want to look like, someone who's never done athletics a day in their life and just eats, a salad and an apple for, the day. And so, like, I think Paige and I talking about it and, realizing that we don't want people to think, like, I think a lot of times people forget that female athletes also have this insanely high level of scrutiny on their bodies and what they look like. It's not only about like what they do athletically, but it's also then how they look too. Whereas a lot of men and boys don't have to deal with that aspect of it. And so I think that was something Paige wanted to really get out there and help younger girls realize, and, realize that we both talked about this together one time. Like, our sport that we did gave us so much, but there's a lot that it, like, there's a toll it takes on you. And I think it's like helping a younger generation, maybe get to utilize the good, or, reap the benefits of the good things of the sport without maybe all the bad that comes with it.
Yeah, definitely. And I think like the most interesting part is that being a D1 athlete, you have to perform on the field. You have so many things to worry about. You have to worry about performance, worry about what you look like, especially for gymnastics too. Like being in the uniforms that you're in, that's crazy to me. So it's like you have to worry about so many different things. And then you have this going on behind the scenes. So it's like, I just feel like it's such a valuable topic to talk about and to kind of just get different perspectives on it, So I just think that's like a really interesting thing to kind of touch upon.
Well, and I think it's very selfless of you to know that you have so much you can give. Like, obviously you're athletic and you're beautiful and you're so smart, but you're at your age, Paige, the fact that you want to send this message, like, I hope you understand like how big that is, because it's a lot of responsibility, that we often forget about, because Rachel and I talk about this all the time. We can't just go out and do our job. We have to, me personally as a reporter, I can't be too flirty. I can't be too nice. I can't be too this. I can't be too that. I can't dress a certain way that I would want to. And you can go out, you can go 4 for 4, hit for the cycle, hit 87 grand slams, and people are still going to be like, well, this is what you look like. And that sucks. Right. So knowing that you have a sense of self right now at where you are in your career, like that's huge. So that alone is a phenomenal brand, if you will. But it seems like you're just being real, right?
Yeah, I think that's just what I want to be. I just want to be myself and just kind of share what I've been through and the different experiences that I've had to go through. And I mean, I'm just,
we get it. People love you, Paige. Like, we get it. Like, people love you.
But I think that things happen for a reason, and I just want to kind of get my story out there, just so if I just help one girl out of 100, I think that's just my main goal. So
yeah, and that's phenomenal, and I'm glad that you and Rachel had that bond. Unfortunately, it's under shitty circumstances, but I'm glad you guys can go through that together. Now your softball season's coming up. When does that actually start, and how does it start?
Yeah, so I actually leave August 16th, so that's coming up. But our first game doesn't start until August 30th. So, and then it's a 6-week season, and I'll get back the first week of October.
And so what have they told you how to prepare and everything, not just for a season, but in the middle of a pandemic?
Yeah, so there's a lot of precautions that we have to take, as that's why we're going earlier than the 30th, so we can go get settled in the living space that they have for us. We actually have a COVID test sent to us, to our house, have to take it, send in the results and things like that. So they're taking a lot of really good precautions just to keep everybody safe. But it's just crazy the things you kind of have to go through right now in these times. So it's still kind of like, it's a little bit weird to me, just kind of having to go through all of this. And I don't know, it's just like, it's hard to explain, but they're doing a really good job about kind of taking care of all of us. So.
That's great. Now I'm a D1's fast pitch softball junkie, because I was never a D1 softball player, but I'm just curious, because I would look at y'all and just be in awe of what you guys did. And that wasn't just because you guys were phenomenal athletes, but you didn't get enough, like, I feel like up until recently, fast pitch softball didn't get a lot of love, whether it was on ESPN or anything like that. So just from like a little girl, the 17-year-old Jess who had to switch from baseball to softball, and watching you guys, like, what was that experience like? And not just from a fantasy, like, I wish I could do that perspective, but just like actually being on the team and being with the girls and everything like that.
I think for me, it's just so surreal. Like, you work your whole entire softball career just to get to your goal or your goal school basically. And being on that team and having the coaches that I had and just being in that atmosphere of UCLA, it's just like I never really thought about it when I was there. Like I never thought that I was like in it. I was like there in that moment. I was always just like striving to be perfect. So I never really took the time to step back and be like, wow, like look at what I did, you know? And that didn't come until I graduated. But I think like just having that experience, I'm obviously very thankful for it. And it goes to show that hard work really does pay off. And yeah, I'm glad I had that opportunity, because being there and going to the World Series and winning the championship, that was just like I was in tears for at least a week after. So yeah, it's just crazy to think about it. And it's awesome to have the opportunity to do that from the past players that kind of created that platform for us. So.
No, it's great. I mean, Mama, you have a framed jersey behind you. So like that alone is amazing. Rachel, I'm curious because I know you're very hard on yourself. Did you ever take a step back at UCLA and were like, let me embrace this? Or were you constantly just like, I need to be perfect. I need to be perfect?
It wasn't until when I ended up medical retiring, because I had tears, and I have like 3 tears in this shoulder, 4 in this one. Body was falling apart, and finally, so I was just kind of I would go into practice every day, but I couldn't compete. And it was at that moment that finally I had a conversation with my dad, and he was like, my dad has stressed this to me my entire life, and I never listened. But like, you have to like enjoy the journey, like enjoy this moment where you are and like what you've done. And it wasn't until like my final year that I really did. But I mean, Paige and I have talked about this too. Like, as an athlete in college was not fun for me. Like it wasn't something everyone looks forward to, going back to college. I remember all my friends would be home on breaks, and
I didn't. Never got that bug. But anyway, continue.
All my friends would be like, I'm so excited to go back to school and, like party, and their frats and sororities. And I was like, yeah, I'm so excited to wake up at 5 a.m. and, work my ass off and be exhausted and then go to classes. And it's a job. And it's hard, I think, sometimes in the moment to really appreciate college and enjoy it for what it is. And you look back and you're like, yeah, it was great. But I mean, I'll be the first to tell you, like, I've never been one to sugarcoat things for people. I'll tell you I had an eating disorder. I'll tell you, that, it isn't as perfect as it might seem on the surface. And I was never afraid to say that about college too. Like, college wasn't my mom used to tell me, oh, it's going to be the best 4 years of your life. And it wasn't. Like, it really wasn't. And so that, I think, is a reality that a lot of people don't like to talk about. And I know, but it's something, Paige kind of talked to me about at one point too. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely something I dealt with as well.
Yeah, well, I feel like I was never really, obviously the stereotypical college athlete is what? You guys get your tests, you have it so easy. You like round grades. Like I was barely a college student, so I don't 100% know. But Paige, do you feel like there was a stereotype being a college athlete that it was easy for you? Because after you guys tell me these stories, I want to punch everybody in the face who are like, oh, they skated through college. And I know that wasn't the case. Like, not even just grades, but like you have so much pressure on yourself, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's for sure a stereotype about student athletes. But I mean, especially being at UCLA, the professors were just so hardcore. And for me, my major was political science. So not necessarily the hardest major out there. But I mean, I had professors that
history, so it's okay.
But I had professors out there that weren't gonna do, like, if I had a game, it was on me, so right. It's like I had to have the characteristic and like the courage to go up to the professor and be like, hey, like, I know I have a game, like, what can I do? So it's just like all about negotiation and just things like that. But like, it wasn't easy. Like, it's not like, you're not going to have a professor and say like, oh, you're an athlete, here you go, like, here's an A, so it's like, it's just, I think that some people think that's how it is, but I mean, at UCLA for me, it wasn't. It was hard, and I appreciate everything that I went through. But I mean, it was a grind. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Classes were tough. Like, we had to travel, things like that. You just have a lot of things on your plate that you have to worry about and be organized about. But I mean, that's why I came out the way I am. So
Yeah, you guys have to grow up way faster than the typical college student because you are traveling. You have to figure out, how do I do everything, still maintain the GPA to play and everything like that. And, so I have so much respect for y'all. And I know it was more than just the grades. It was obviously body image issues. So I don't know how y'all do it. So I'm going to pour an extra one out for both of y'all later for sure.
Yeah. Thank you. We appreciate it.
I got you, girls. I'm not even kidding, Rachel. I'm going to get a Paige Halstead jersey. I never buy jerseys either. I love me some Joey Votto, and I've never purchased a jersey. I'll buy a Halstead jersey.
I did get you a Votto.
I'll send it to you.
It has to be Pete Halstead. I don't want her brother getting any sort of, I don't want them thinking I got one for him,
I'm going to get a Halstead jersey too.
Yeah. No, you were phenomenal. Paige, I cannot wait to see what you do with your career. I think anything you need from me, no problem, let me know. And you were a phenomenal guest. I'm so glad you stopped by.
Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming, Paige. We appreciate it. And I'm sure we will have a call soon in the next day or two to go over all your stuff. So
thank you guys so much.
You're the best. And good luck this season.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Bye, Paige. Jess, I love this blazer, by the way, that you're wearing, like the arm cut. Oh, I don't have time.
Thank you so much, because here's the thing. I bought this for the season, and when I was wearing this, I was buying my dress for the A's preview show that we never really had until it was in my room. But yeah, thank you. I'm so excited. It's only the second time I've worn it, and I've had it for ever. Yeah, it's so modern, if you will. It's kind of like, it also kind of feels like
I feel like I feel like I'm too young to wear it. Not that you're sounds horrible. I'm calling old, but I feel like a kid, people will look at me and it's so professional and grown up. And
you should at least try one on, because we're the same size. Obviously you're skinnier, but shortness wise, people, it's very in right now.
It works. Okay, fine. I'll do it, because I've been looking at them and I love them. Anyway.
I'm obsessed. Actually, Melanie Newman is the reason why I have this. So there is that. But we also had our second woman on this time around. We had Paige Halstead, and not only is she a bomb ass softball player, but she's your client.
She is.
And of course, you guys bonded over UCLA, which is a big thing. I'm super self-conscious. If my children didn't go to UCLA, I'm worried you would never want to babysit them, but that's okay. That's a whole nother story. But I'm excited that she was there. She gave us a really great interview, and her season's starting up soon. She got to face not only Trevor Bauer, but Frankie Montas, which I got really excited about, and some batting practice and everything like that. But we have a lot to unpack before we get onto her interview. I'm still elated. She was just amazing. I just really loved her, because I'm just going to tell you this. I was an athlete in college, but I played not with the school. So I was on a tournament team, and I wanted that collegiate athlete situation so bad. And I didn't realize how difficult it actually was, and I was naive. I thought it was, you guys get tests handed to you and you guys got to travel and all this stuff. And obviously what you and Paige went through was a totally lot. That's something I can never actually compare to. But I want you to know I have a totally different respect for college athletes now.
I appreciate that. Yeah. That was growing up. I always hated the fact that because I never did a sport for my school. I was a gymnast since I was 2, and you train at a club and you compete for a club and you're a part of a club, and it has nothing to do with the school. And high school, there are some states that do high school gymnastics, but the level it's very, very low. So I was never a part of a school, and it was really hard because I competed on the side and I had this ridiculous, training regimen on the side, but then also had to, go to school and get good grades, and nobody understood what my training entailed, and they didn't care if, whatever, if I was, away at a competition or something, but then they always, gave preferential treatment to like, the JV track team at school or something. And I hated it. But then, being in college, it was nicer that the school somewhat has your back, but it's still tough. Like, there are a lot of professors that don't care. And it's work. It's a job. Being an athlete is a job.
It really is. And, it's not all puppy dogs and rainbows as much as we do. Also, our wine word for today is postseason.
Yeah. Hashtag postseason.
Hashtag postseason. I'm not going to cheers again. It's been, I feel like we're in mid-season form.
But we are.
I am a mess.
Hold on. Are we going to have a postseason? Now, hold on. We talked about this last episode, I think. I was very confident in my answer that we were going to have a 60-game season. Ask me again how I feel.
Okay, so I want to ask you that, and then I have a follow-up. So are we going to have 60 games this season, Rach?
I don't know. No, here's my answer. I think we will. Okay. I think we're going to have, most teams will have 60 games. I do think that still. I think there might be a scenario though where there are going to be several teams that don't play 60, and there's a chance that they have talked about how they're going to have to do postseason based on winning percentage, not based on whatever it is right now, the division winner in the whole new format.
Okay. So I actually agree. I don't think we're going to play 60 games, but I think we're going to have a postseason, because the one thing I will give, I don't want to say give Rob Manfred credit for, is he's figuring out everything. Something happens, he'll figure something out. Like, see, we have to make up all these games. I tweeted the makeup stuff out, and it's insane because we have so many different new things we need to do. Nick Markakis just hit a home run, which is good. I'm glad he's back on that note. But I had to tweet out like all the different revisions, and this is what it is. Look at all that. Yeah, but he's back. He came back because I think he saw that that Freddie Freeman was doing well again and like healthy, but no, he's back.
Okay.
Really good. So of course imagine like sitting there and having FOMO, right? You'd be like, if you and somebody else were doing this podcast without me, I'd be like,
Jess, I don't have FOMO. I'm one of those people that my roommates in like college hated me because they were like, don't you want to come out with us tonight? Like, aren't you going to have FOMO? I was like, you don't understand. Growing up as an athlete and never being able to go out or do anything, I learned to you cannot survive if you have FOMO. So
I have FOMO right now. I want to be at a game right now. Good Lord.
I want to talk about if they do change the postseason and who gets in to a winning percentage. So I've talked to several players that are very unhappy about how they're handling these COVID tests and the players that are sitting out, the teams that get to have games postponed or suspended, while there are other teams that, might have one or two of their best players, Juan Soto, Mike Moustakas, right, go down. And you have players like, Mike Moustakas, who that's the team's best player, or one of their best players, and they still have to play games without him, right? And then you have other scenarios where you have the Marlins, who get 18 players that went down with COVID, and they just their games just get suspended, right, or postponed. They don't have to play. And the reason I think there are players that are frustrated with this is because they don't have to play games. We set it up so that we would have a 60 game or a 60 player roster, right, for teams, for this very reason, that in the event you have players get COVID-19, you have another pool, a bigger pool of players to choose from. And then you have teams like the Marlins where they just didn't follow protocol and they have a bunch of players that go down, and now they just don't have to play games. And you look at it, and right before they came back, they were, I think that they were leading the division because they were, I don't know, 2-1 or something. So they had the best winning percentage. And then you have other teams, right, that might lose one or two of their best players, and they still have to play and they might lose. And so I think there are a lot of players that are looking at it like, look, especially if you're a team that doesn't, and your players aren't following protocol, then you need to find whatever replacement players you have, on tap, and substitute them in, and you need to play your games. Because, there are other teams that are following protocol closely, and they still have to play maybe without one or two of their best players. So I do think that they need to do better at making that more uniform.
I do agree. And it's just a weird scenario all around. And I don't know, like, the rescheduling, I give them so much props, because scheduling alone is a tough thing to do. And
did you know how they used to schedule games?
Like when?
Like the original, I don't know, it was like probably maybe 10 years ago they stopped doing it this way, but before that it was this mom and pop, like this husband and wife in somewhere in the middle of America. There was an ESPN, I think 30 for 30 on this, and they did it by hand and scheduled the games. No joke.
Aww.
Yeah. Sorry.
Times were so much more simple back then, before all of this stuff. So what do you get a feeling that the players are actually adhering to protocols? I do. Liam Hendriks himself said he's okay with being by himself in a hotel room because he doesn't like people. And I was like, I feel you. Which, if I could interview Liam Hendriks every day for the rest of my life, I'd be okay. And, and they're taking it very seriously. You have somebody like Marcus Simeon, who's kind of leading all of it. And Liam even said, he's like, I can't speak for other teams, but there's certain teams where they have an uptick in testing positive, and we find out why. Rumors kind of are getting around. My sources are telling me a lot of things, but why are some people just not paying attention to some of these rules?
It's tough. So there are definitely teams that are,
you may get FOMO, but you may not get FOMO, but other people do. We'll go with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there are teams for sure that are, I think a majority of teams are really following this strictly, and they're, limiting themselves in what they can do, and, in order to protect the season. You have a few players, and it only takes one on a team to mess it up for everybody, who maybe aren't following the protocols. That being said, I think we have to point out the fact that you can follow the protocols down to a T super strictly, right? When you're home at a home game, and you live in an apartment building, and you go home at night and you push the elevator button, or you even just open the door, whatever it is, and somebody in that apartment building happens to have COVID, like, you get it, and then you could pass it on to the team, and you did nothing you weren't allowed to do. You have to go grocery shopping when you live at home, for home games. And, unless I know a lot of players that just rely on eating at the field, which is great, but there's some with families and they need to go grocery shopping. And what if, somebody gets it at the grocery store? That doesn't mean that they weren't following protocol. So I think the protocols are great for on the road, and if you abide by them, you're pretty much safe. The problem is that the protocols, it's hard to kind of restrict and limit players, even from just kind of existing and living. Like, they have to live somewhere and they have to get food. And so when they're at home, I think it's really easy to abide by all the protocols and yet still somehow come in contact with it. So I think there are a lot of players who, they're following all the protocols, but they might still be subject to, getting COVID-19, and that sucks. But then there are also a few players that just aren't following it, and they're going to ruin it for everybody.
Yeah, and it kind of goes down to that. And like, I really feel for him. I totally understand. But I also am listening to Jake Diekman saying we live in a time where everything can be delivered to you. You don't have to go out and get great. And it's tough. I understand. But Liam himself said it's 60 games and they're all kind of on the same consensus. We can do this. We got this. So it'll be interesting to see, but I mean, it feels like every day it's different. One day it's the Cardinals, you're like, damn, or it's the Marlins. The next you're like, okay, we got some good test results. Not so bad. And even NFL did their first round after workouts, and theirs was, I think, 2% of them were positive tests, which is actually pretty good, all things considered. But I saw the 49ers are adhering to NFL protocols, working out in their own little substations. So that's good. They're actually being smart about that. We're going to shift some things because I think every week we should do Trevor Bauer Hour because he always gives us something to talk about. The Reds.
Wait, we can't call it that. He has a contract with SiriusXM.
Oh my gosh.
Bauer Hour show. Yeah. So the lawyer in me is going to tell you right now that we cannot call it that.
All right. We're going to call it Trevor Bauer's. We're just going to call it Here's the Time Where We Talk About Trevor Bauer. I don't know. Perfect. The Reds have been kind of some storylines, not just because Joey was very apparent about how he wants to buy a whole section and have his face painted on it, because when he hit a home run recently, he pointed out to the grounds crew, which they're doing amazing work. But Trevor recently, he had another good outing, and he did this Conor McGregor type thing. Am I doing it right? I don't know. But I want to know, is that do more arms? Is that really his hero, Rachel?
Not hero. It's an idol though. He loves McGregor. He saw my tweet and he was like, I was talking to him and he was like, my idol? And I was like, yeah, that's your idol. He's like, yeah, you're right. It is. But he came from nothing. He, became one of the most recognizable faces in sports.
Yeah. And his good documentary out on him too. I don't remember where it's at, but I really enjoyed it.
He just makes funny content too. And the way that he talks shit before fights, Trevor just loves it and finds him super entertaining, and he's a ton of fun. I think anyone who watches UFC, would attest to the fact that he's so much fun to watch. So yeah, Trevor likes greatness. That's his big thing. He loves what is the Roll Tide? And why am I blanking on this? Is horrible. Is it Alabama? Yeah, he loves watching them. He loves watching the Patriots, and everyone's like, you're just this bandwagon person. He's like, no, I just love greatness. And so when I see, teams or people that, are going to go down history as the greats, I love that.
Okay, if you hear greatness, just personally, who do you think of? Did you see A-Rod went off and he was like, Tiger Woods, Michael Jordan, Aaron Judge, and it's like,
stop.
Right? Mike Trout gives birth to a baby. Jessica gave birth to the baby. But did we forget about Mike Trout? My greats, we're going to think let's do our Mount Rushmores of greats. Barry Bonds, absolutely. Michael Jordan, Tiger Woods. Muhammad Ali. And that's all I can get though, is 4, right?
Yeah, I think.
I'm confident with that. Because you have to have a baseball guy, and that's me as Barry Bonds for sure.
I'm down with that.
Yeah. Okay. I just don't come at me with the steroids thing. Whatever, we know, guys. We know. Chill.
Did you know that steroids are bad for you, Jess?
It's fine. Matt Olson has a disgusting mustache on his face, and that's doing amazing things. And you know what? Whatever helps them. Okay.
Mustaches, steroids,
whatever. Do what you got. I mean, nowadays steroids would be a little bit different, but they were all doing it back then. It's in the 80s when you all drank wine coolers and had shoulder pads. Who's on your Mount Rushmore of like sports journalists? Go.
Sports journalist, Jess Schmidt.
Wow, that's it. There it is. Wow, that's so weird.
I'm thinking more of just like a Statue of Liberty.
Yeah, that's like, and then whoever else wants to go look at me. It's like a tough question though. I don't know. I'm very confident in my 4. Actually, that's like weird because I like usually have to study it a lot and I always forget things, but I'm pretty confident in that. Yeah. Muhammad Ali, man. And Tiger Woods for sure.
Muhammad Ali is he is my hero.
Yeah. So he's your Conor McGregor.
Yeah.
Maybe.
That's my, I love him. He's my dude.
That's what we should do. Next time we should do our Mount Rushmores next time. And then like and why.
Yeah, I will say there is a chance that one day Aaron Judge makes it, but I think he's quite there yet.
Yeah, it was definitely like, and I really think it was a tongue-in-cheek comment. I really, really do. I love A-Rod. I genuinely love him.
We have the same birthday.
You and A-Rod?
Yeah.
Who else do you share a birthday with, athlete-wise? Because I might have you beat.
Oh, I don't know, but so there are like, now I think the count is 18 of my friends have the same, or people that I know and have grown up with have my birthday, which bothers me because like it's supposed to be my day. But I remember reading this book of like famous people with your birthday, and the only one who had mine, and this was when I was, I don't know, probably 11 or 12, and I saw A-Rod, and I was so disappointed because I was like, shoot, nobody likes him. But now,
I mean, they didn't used to.
That's what I'm saying. So back then I was like, yeah, that sucks. But now people like him. So I'll happily share my birthday with him.
Okay. And who else athlete wise?
I don't know athlete wise.
Interesting. Because athlete wise for me, I'm Yasiel Puig and Larry Bird.
All right.
If I didn't have to use my mic right now, I would drop it.
Yeah. You win on that.
And Aaron Carter, but like that's a given.
Well, I still think it's cool that I know
because he beat Shaq once. So like there's that. I actually went to an Aaron Carter concert. Okay, that's another thing. Also, I want to give a shout out to Sarah. And I talked to her. And here's the thing. She worked at UCLA for a little bit. And she reached out to me because she wanted to kind of pick my brain because she wants to figure out what to do in her life. We have like a cult following, Rachel, on this podcast. And she's part of the reason. And she told me recently, like she got a couple of her girlfriends into this podcast, and her name's Sarah, and she's phenomenal, super sweet, really love her. So I wanted to give a shout out to her because I know for a fact she is listening. My mother may not listen, but Sarah's got her back. So.
Okay, my mom doesn't listen. My family doesn't listen to this either. But if there's a Bruin listening to this, I have done my job.
Yeah, so we're good. All right. I love you so much. Cheers once again.
Cheers.
Hopefully I have sparkly nail polish. I did this because you got sparkly nail polish.
We're twins.
We are twins. Love you so much. We'll see you on the next episode of Cork'd Up. And maybe it'll be less of a shit show. I don't really care if it's not, because we had fun.
Cheers.
Bye.